Hello.
Hello, Pam. How are you?
Good. How are you? So good to see
I'm
you.
great. So nice
Good to
to
see you.
talk with you and to thank you for inviting me to talk about Hans Gall. So,
Yes. I am so thrilled that we're doing this piece. We're presenting it this weekend. The concert's already been recorded and it will be offered to our audience on Sunday. This is his Concertino for violin and string orchestra, which was written in 1939.
1939, yeah.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about what your experience with his music and the significance of him and the school of music that he came from and his journey and the significance of this piece.
Well, first of all, a big kudos to you for, you have initiated so much a performance of music of displaced and disenfranchised composers, whether they are from related to the Holocaust and to Terezin. And this is, of course, one example of a person who wasn't even that religious. He was just Jewish by birth.
Mhm.
But it wasn't his fault. He was born this way. But due to this fact, his entire career was cut off. And he had to flee Austria, to flee the center of music in Europe, where he had already a wonderful career by that time.
Yes, he did.
So luckily, he didn't end up like many others in Terezin or any other concentration camp. He was smart enough to escape on time. But
I had read that his sister and his aunt committed suicide rather than being deported to camps.
and yes, and many people committed suicide because they didn't want either they couldn't escape on time, and they knew what the fate that's awaiting them. So that was a common thing, unfortunately. He was smart enough, although, it's still tragic, because imagine somebody close to the age of 50 years old to start everything from scratch
Everything.
in a place that he doesn't even know the language.
Mm-hmm.
He's so rooted in the German tradition, in the German language. He teaches, he's the head of the conservatory in Mainz in Germany. He had the fame and he had the importance of, he's already very famous for what he did for Brahms. You mentioned that, and you as a cellist, very well about the cello sonatas and then the symphonies.
He edited all the symphonies. He did.
Oh yeah, so many volumes, and obviously he knew a lot of Brahms and was influenced musically from Brahms. And so to just have to leave on a short notice with just a suitcase and go to another place. I mean, he went to Edinburgh. It's not a bad place to be. Who wouldn't?
But it's not like he was open. It was not like open arms welcomed,
No, you're right. You're right. It was not at all an open arm, because he had to spend in a concentration camp again.
He was in an internment camp with Nazis.
With Nazis, yes, exactly. Yes. It was actually one of the silliest decisions to treat those people who escaped Europe as a foreign enemy. And they designated them, and they had to interrogate them and see what are they doing, and maybe they're spying. So, but he went through that, and obviously he wanted to come to the United States, I believe, but he fell in love with what was there, and he got some support from people who knew him. Like for the person who established, founded the Edinburgh Music Festival, Bing. And you know that until today, Edinburgh Music Festival is the biggest music festival in the world, and probably the most famous. So he was involved with that. But just to start from scratch in a foreign country, that's not easy. And so, and for that is also the reason that he was pretty much forgotten for such a long time. He was taken out of his natural environment. Who knows how he would have developed if he stayed in Germany, if there would not be all the circumstances of the war. But lucky for him, he lived for a very long time.
He did.
And to be 97, and he composed until almost like his last year, he composed music. So
Yeah.
he was able to teach, he was able to do what he did, and he actually ended up having pretty good life, and he was much appreciated. He got many prizes toward the end of his life in England and in Austria and so on.
Still struggled with some tragedy, though. You know, he lost his first son, and then he lost his second son. He had three
Yeah.
children. His daughter
We-
survived.
It's so interesting. Yeah, he went through all these tragedies, but there is something about his music that remains so super optimistic.
It really does. Even like the De Profundis, it's just gorgeous music. Gorgeous.
It's gorgeous,
And
and
it is
like,
I mean, he wrote this in 39, the Concertino, which would have been around the time of the Anschluss. And
yes, and you would think like it's like the opposite of Shostakovich. It's like Shostakovich can start a little happily, and within 5 measures is into this tragedy and death march and military marches and fanfares for the fallen soldiers and all that. And by him, it's like the music is not, it's tonal and atonal, it's between things. Yes, it's like,
yes.
I always, when I hear him, I think is like Brahms going in the meat, but both of them behind a fog or a veil or something like that.
Okay.
It's like a little bit of both. It's kind of the time. He didn't break any new ground in music,
No.
but he found his own language. But it's somehow, it's all in major. It's like all sounds so major, like so optimistic, so open. And the concertino particularly, it's going from one major to another.
I know it opens with this, incredible cello. The cellos just
The
come.
cello line is
Yes.
incredible, and
And it
yeah,
just, and we keep coming back. The second theme, then we've got it again. The cello introduces it, and
exactly. He loved the cello here, and of course, he loved the cello generally at the concertino for cello too.
yes,
And
and a beautiful cello sonata too.
very beautiful. And then, yeah, the one thing is about this particular piece, it's mistakenly considered to be like a 2-movement piece. I don't know, some people say, oh, it's the first movement, it's about 9 minutes, and then the second movement comes later. But it's not. It's actually a rhapsodic, long one movement.
Okay.
That's very, very well connected. It has 2 cadenzas.
Yeah, 2 cadenzas. I know.
And actually, it's very, very funny. The first cadenza is dealing with the material that's in the second part.
Oh.
And the second cadenza is bringing all the beginning part. So it's kind of like reversing the order. It might have been even that he added the cadenza. I don't know technically how he did it, but maybe he added the first cadenza later or something like that.
Maybe.
So it's a very rhapsodic kind of music that's going from one mood to another. After this beginning with the cellos, he comes in with the violin, and suddenly you have this march-like music. Dum, da-dum, 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 da-dum.
Yeah.
And you think, when you hear it, you think, oh, now is 1939. He's really thinking war. He's singing, no, but it just does it for a short time.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to other things. So it's very rhapsodic, very free. So that's something that's, and the second part, what we consider to be the second part, is this rigodon.
Yes.
This French dance that is like, he's even quoting it. He's saying it's a rigodon from 1716.
Yeah.
A French dance. So he's doing what Stravinsky would do around the same time. Stravinsky and Pulcinella brought, a lot of Baroque music, and he's bringing some early Baroque music, actually very simple one. And the listener should ask themselves, why does he do this? It's just like basically a scale going up and down, and it's very simple and very clear cut 2/4, And that is very interesting why he brings that. And he brings that because the entire first part is very wishy-washy in terms of rhythm.
Okay.
It's in 6/4, but
Yes,
when
it
you
is.
listen to it, you think it's 4/4. Because often you would phrase 4 and then the next two is the first two of the next measure. So it's very interesting. What makes Hans Gall so unique is that the music is never what it appears to be.
That's true. That's very true.
If you look at the score and you say, oh, I'm expecting now to hear 6/4. But what you hear is sometimes 6/4, but you're not sure, it might be 4/4. And then he would put something in 2/4, for example, and you hear these 8 notes, ta 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 ta, yeah, or ta ta ta, no, like 4/4. But he combines them, he organizes them in 5. Ti ta ti ta 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 ti ta 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 ti ta. So it's like, do you want it to be 4/4 or what do you want it to really be? When he put 2/4, he would organize it in 3. Da da di da di da 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 dim. So it's like emiolas in reverse or something like that. It's never what he really write in terms of the meter until the rigodon. And the rigodon is the contrast where what you see is dum pum pa pa dum pum pum pa dum, and it's very clear cut. And then toward the end, he mixes both of them. The one that's very fluid and cannot be, you can't really catch it and say what it is, but it comes together with the rigodon, and this gives, because it technically, in terms of craft, he was definitely a genius. You find all kinds of fugatos and fugues and imitations and throughout the piece. Yes, and you ask yourself, but they're just like suggestions. He goes into a little fugato somewhere toward the beginning, but never like very heavy-handed, fugues and stuff like that. But he's very well versed with the tradition of the European music.
Just as having played the piece, exactly what you said, I could never trust my instincts. Because if I stopped counting for a minute, then that all was lost.
Oh yeah, it would fall apart. It's always on the edge. It's always on the edge. The other thing is, and you probably, because you played it, he has a lot of a change of scale, change of key signature.
Oh, all over the place. Yeah, you really, the accidentals and then the key changes, you just had to really be on your toes.
But
you couldn't let up for a minute.
That's another thing where you can see clearly that it's not what it appears to be. So yes, it starts in E flat major, very beautiful, very lyrical, the beginning with the cello, and then, but then from after that, you can never catch it and say, this is the key, because it keeps moving and shifting.
Yeah.
Not only in the score, it goes from E flat major to D major, and then back to E flat and back to D, and then to G major, and suddenly C major, and suddenly it's B major with 5 sharps.
Yes.
And it's like,
yep.
But then the music has hardly something to do with the key signature that's written, because it would be in B and he would write all these flats.
Yes, so you really had to watch the accidentals.
You have to watch everything. You have to be on your toes throughout the piece. And that is what, it's very interesting that we have in Colorado an interesting connection to Hans Gall through Kenneth Wood.
Yeah, he recorded all the symphonies, and
right.
I don't. Do you know Kenneth? I don't know.
I know Kenneth very well. He is the director of the Mahlerfest in Boulder.
I did
the
not
stuff.
know that.
Yeah. For after Olsen, what was his name? Kevin Olsen, or I don't remember the first name. Olsen was a conductor for many, many years.
Okay. I did
He
not realize
established
that.
it. And then they found Ken Wood from England, and he has been in the last 4 years, has been running that Mahlerfest.
Okay.
Oh, he's a tremendous musician, cellist. He plays cello, very active. And yeah, he recorded some of the first.
He did all the symphonies, the violin concerto, concertino. I'm not the orchestra of the Swan. I think is the orchestra that he recorded.
And he's on the board. He's on the board of the Hans Gall Society.
Oh,
in
okay.
England. Yeah. So
interesting connection. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so that connect us from Colorado right to Hans Gall. But
wow,
so great that we bring him. You and the orchestra bring him here to Colorado Springs because he's unjustifiably very underrated or unknown to many.
He's got a beautiful serenade for strings that, so there's a lot of other material to consider. He's got a huge catalog.
Huge amount of music.
Huge catalog. Thank you so much for sharing all this insight into his life and to the music. We're not offering our pre-concert talks, and I thought this would be an opportunity for our audience to hear from you and with your expertise.
I'm music. Always delighted. I mean, this orchestra is so precious to me, and we've been collaborating between the college, and now everybody is locked at home and confined, and we feel a little bit of what other confined people felt in history. So we get a taste of it. Although we are lucky, we can always go out and do what we want.
You're lucky. And then next season, we're doing one of your pieces. Exciting.
Oh my God, I'm so honored. I'm so honored.
So is it? It's the song. It's the
song cycle. It's called Songs from the Pomegranate Garden.
Right.
It also has to do with sort of a displaced culture that's called the Ladino, the Judeo-Spanish language called Ladino, and the people who were escaped from Spain. Not escaped, but they were, exiled from Spain by the Inquisition in 1492. So the expulsion from Spain. So that has to do with that. But we'll talk. That's another talk.
I know, but it's still here's hoping that we're all getting back to live performances and looking forward.
Oh my God!
Because we always love when we can play your music. So.
We can't wait for that to happen. That's going to be amazing.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Pam.
Thank you, Ofer. It's so great to see you. I so appreciate the expertise and the insight and the passion and everything you bring. So.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks. Take care. We'll see you again.
All the best. Take care.
Too.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your time. Bye.
Anytime. Bye-bye.